the Old Testament witness to Christ's deity. Let us now proceed to demonstrate his deity, which is found in proofs of two kinds. The name and dignity of God are clearly ascribed to God's Son by the plain testimony of Scripture, and are also evidenced by the power of his works. First, David speaks to him thus: "Your throne, O God, will endure forever. The scepter of your rule is a scepter of integrity." At this point, some malicious individual might quibble that the word Elohim, which appears here, is used of angels and superior powers. There is, however, no reference in Scripture to the eternal throne being set up for a mere creature, for he is called not only God, but also eternal ruler. Furthermore, the title is never given to anyone without some qualification, as for example, Moses, who is said to be God to Pharaoh, so that the believer will understand that none but the one true God is meant. That this is what God's Son is called is clear from what follows. For this reason your God has anointed you with the oil of gladness. This verse thus designates one who is God and who has God above him, meaning Jesus Christ, who in his humanity was willing to appear as a servant, submissive to God his Father. Isaiah represents him as God, as one equipped with power, something which belongs only to the living God. Here, he says, is the name by which he will be called, the mighty God, Father of the age to come. Nor should the Jews cavil by trying to overturn the prophet's words, interpreting them in this way. Here is what the mighty God, Father of the age to come, will call him. They thus leave Jesus Christ with nothing but the title Prince of Peace. For what would be the prophet's purpose in assembling, against all scriptural precedent, so many titles in order to confer them on God in the one verse? Rather, his intention was clearly to adorn Jesus Christ with those titles which are rightly his. This is clearer still from Jeremiah's statement that he will be called the seed of David, raised up to save the people, and the Lord of our righteousness. For considering that the Jews themselves teach that God's other names are titles which honor his glory, but that the word used by the prophet Yahweh is the very name which expresses his essence, we hold that the Son of God is also our sole God and Lord, who elsewhere declares that he will not give his glory to another. The Jews, in their malice, attempt to subvert this passage, claiming that Moses also gave this name to the altar which he had built, and that Ezekiel applies it to the church of God. But that is merely an empty evasion. Who cannot see that the altar was erected as a memorial and sign that God was Moses' exaltation, and similarly that God's name was not strictly assigned to the church, but instead signified that God was present in it? For this is what the prophet says: "The name of the city will be, the Lord dwells there." And Moses declares that he has raised an altar to God and has called it, "The Lord is my exaltation." What else does Ezekiel mean but that Jerusalem is the place where God dwells? And what does Moses declare but that God is his strength, in token of which he sets up an altar? It might be thought that another passage, the 33rd chapter of Jeremiah, poses a greater difficulty. There, words earlier applied to Jesus Christ are transferred to the church. Here is the name by which he will be called, the Lord our righteousness. By way of answer, I say that this text, far from contradicting us, duly supports our argument. For the prophet, having first of all testified that Jesus Christ is our true God, the source of all righteousness, next adds that the church will know it with such certainty that even it may glory in the name.